What is happening, guys? Happy Friday. My name is Casey. You're tuning in to Lions Den Investments and Reviews. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Over here, we cover content on the blockchain and crypto space, stocks, any type of financial services that'll help get you ahead in the current economy that we're in. Okay, because right now, as you know, it's very difficult for a lot of people. There's a lot of layoffs, stagflation, you got inflation on the rise as well. So it's very important for you to have skill sets outside of your job where you're trading your time for money to increase your potential for building wealth over time. Okay, one of the easiest ways to do that right now is in cryptos. So for today's video, guys, I just want to cover technical analysis on Bitcoin, show you where we're at there, and then I want to talk about the Theta project and where we are with that, because right now, guys, we've got a breakout that is occurring on the Theta charts, and I want to show you that because here over the next 3 months, I've got price targets on Theta. So if you're a Theta investor and you haven't watched the previous videos, go back and watch that because I covered some of the targets that I had in place and how I came up with those. And I'm going to show you where we're at right now with the breakout with Theta, because the price is going to be heading much higher here over this month and then the coming months. Then we're going to talk about the SEC ETF approval that just was approved as of this morning. We'll also go in and talk about Brazil, because Brazil, guys, just adopted Bitcoin as a legal tender. I don't know if you knew that. Then we'll wrap it up here with Ripple, okay? So just getting started, you got Bitcoin. I did some technical analysis in the last video. I told you what I expected to happen. We had bounced off the 6.18 here on the retrace. And guys, if you're wondering where I got that retrace on the Fibonacci, you just go over here, you select trend-based fib extension from the Theta or from the Trading View platform, okay? And you draw it from the bottom, you go up here to the top, and then come back down. That'll give you some targets to look at. Okay, you can do it that way. This is probably the most accurate way to do it, especially because we are in an uptrend right now, and this is just a small retrace, and then prices go higher following that trend. Okay, so right now, this is how I got that chart for the 618, the 382. Okay, so you can see right here, that's what you would want to do to get your targets in place, and then just draw a horizontal line across where those levels are, and go ahead and mark them, with text, so you can see where we're at. But I said we would bounce off the 618 and we come down and we might retest the 382. If we don't retest the 382, I'd expect that because we have a lot of price action and pivot points back here, where we bounced up off of that. Right here we came down, we bounced back up. So these are pivot points, okay? They're price reactions, areas of strong demand. So if we don't come down and retest the 382, I would expect us to come down to about 51,567 and then bounce off of that and head higher. But we got to break this 0.618 at 55,400, and then we've got price levels up here at 59,300. That would put us close to all-time highs again. And then once we break that, it's off to the races. Now Theta, check this out, guys. This is a Theta chart. This is on the daily. Okay, like I said, I've got targets based on the fib chart and what we did in the surge from the last will cycle on Theta. So these are all my targets on the Fibonacci retracement. And I based it off of the surge in price with Theta going up. So if you haven't watched that video, go back, watch that video as well. I show you how I got those targets. But on the daily chart, if you look, we've got this descending triangle, right, that has been playing out for almost 6 months. If you look, we retested resistance 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, which indicates strong confirmation of that downtrend. But you can see we tightened inside that triangle as we moved forward, and on top of that, we formed a inverse head and shoulders, which is a strong reversal pattern especially on the longer time frames of daily and weekly. So I'm expecting the price to head way higher here. And what you want to look for is these price breakouts. All right. So if we go in here, you can see we are just now breaking outside resistance on that daily chart. And what I'm looking for, there's something called it's basically a trend zone. And what you can do is copy this right here, because you may notice that we've been wicking. Okay, you can see we wick outside and then we come back down. We bounce off resistance, come back down. Over here, we wicked outside and then came back down. So you got basically a trend zone right in here. And what I'm looking for is to break outside that trend zone once we get some volume coming in here from breaking, the resistance line again. Because sometimes, guys, what you'll see is, prices will wick like this and then they'll bounce back down. So I want to confirm that we don't just wick out and then hit this top line here on the trend zone and then come back down. I don't think that's the case here because, again, you've got this inverse head and shoulders reversal pattern taking place as well. But once we break that, then the next level you got as far as resistance, target price wise, would be a $7.84 theta, and then the 786 here at $8.70. And again, if you want to know how I get those targets, okay, just go over here to the fib chart. These would be for target prices. So you just draw downwards because we don't have it doesn't look like the Bitcoin chart where we were heading up and then down. This one's coming down and then up. So you're just going to draw your fib charts from the top down here to the bottom, and that'll give you your target prices, right? So you can see my 618 right about here, where we've got major support down at the bottom. So that's how you get those targets. If you're wondering how I got the 6.8, the 618, the 786, and the 382. But then after that, guys, if we zoom back out here, you've got the beginning of the will cycle for Theta that started December 29th, 2020. And then I've got the date here at about December 30th, end of the month, because I was giving it a 3 or 4 month time frame for the blow off top. So, I had targets of about 2467 and then another target up here at about 3685. Okay, for the first two targets, we need to hit the 0.618 for sure on a new will cycle surge up. So I am counting on prices of at least 2467, and then we could very easily, going into this new cycle, this new well cycle that's about to occur here after we break resistance and get outside this trend zone, I'm expecting, just looking at the chart here, it'd be very easy over the next 3 or 4 months for Theta to hit 3685. Not to mention, if you pay attention to what Theta's doing right now, okay, the announcements that have been coming out, they just launched the RPC API to bridge for Ethereum blockchain, so that you can, any developer that's creating dApps on, say, the Ethereum blockchain is now going to be able to use these API call requests on the front end of dApps so that they talk to the Theta blockchain. That is now live on the test mainnet. So that's big news. That should open up Pandora's box for a lot of innovation on Theta. Not to mention, guys, don't forget about this. Okay, you got Katy Perry, Q4. She's going to be doing her NFT drop there in Las Vegas. Okay, that's in December. So that's right around the same time that you got this blow off top occurring. And then not only that, but they partnered with One Championship as well. So one of the key fighters that has a very big fan base there in MMA is Demetrius Johnson, and he's going to be doing NFT drops as well. I don't know the exact dates for when that happens, but you can't forget about CAA, which is one of the major validator nodes for the Theta blockchain. That's literally all of Hollywood when it comes to A-list actors, rappers, singers, athletes. So it'll be really interesting to see who comes out and does NFT drops after Katy Perry and Demetrius Johnson. But I can tell you, That kind of exposure from a marketing perspective with Theta is going to give it global adoption, and it's right here along the same time frame as what I've got in the charts here for blow off tops. So that's Theta. Let's go over here to the news. We got the SEC, which approves a Volt equity ETF providing exposure to Bitcoin centric companies. Now, the thing about ETFs, guys, is they are an indirect way for traditional investors to get exposure to certain markets. So just because you buy an ETF for Bitcoin doesn't mean that you're actually owning the underlying asset, the physical asset of Bitcoin. It just gives you exposure. Now there are some ETFs that they've got on the back burner here that they're getting ready to approve or at least make a decision on. And if you want to know more about that, just click on somewhere up here. I'll leave a link for the last video that I did because I give you the dates on that for those ETFs. But in the meantime, Volt Equity ETF is basically just a way for traditional investors to get exposure to Bitcoin through companies who are putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Now, this is very interesting because it's basically an indirect way to get exposure to Bitcoin, because you have to go through these companies who have Bitcoin on their balance sheets as well. But because you now have this approval of this ETF, you're gonna see, and this is just my sneaky suspicion here. Okay, it's kind of speculative in nature, but we'll see if I'm right. You're gonna see companies coming out, and being listed under this ETF who come out over the next 3 months and expose to the public, what they've got as far as Bitcoin holdings on their balance sheets. So I think you're going to see companies like Twitter, Square, for instance, Walmart maybe, Amazon, because all these companies are going out there right now and posting job listings for, like blockchain product managers and architects and people like that. So they're getting involved with blockchain. Not to mention you got banks like Visa and MasterCard who don't want to miss out on this either. So that's great news. Very, very bullish. The other news here is Brazil is set to adopt Bitcoin as its legal tender. Now, I told you when we were talking about El Salvador adopting Bitcoin that I would probably, guess to venture that you would see countries getting on that bandwagon, falling in line right behind El Salvador as time progresses. And sure enough, here you go. You got Brazil in the mix now. What's interesting about this, though, is Brazil is part of the BRICS nation, which is the Eastern banking system. So I think, if you're going to see more countries adopt Bitcoin as its legal tender, you probably see countries like, Brazil, Russia, China, India, Singapore, places like that. So Brazil is now doing it. Next, I would expect you're going to see, more countries from this Eastern banking system get in line with that, as opposed to, say, some of the Western countries. They probably are a little bit behind the curve when it comes to the adoption of cryptos, obviously, because of all the regulation and clarity issues that they're dealing with. But it doesn't stop the rest of the world from adopting it. They just move forward, So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But that's bullish news as well. And then also just a friendly reminder here. I made a post not too long ago about Ripple with the ISO 20022 format and the documents there. I've been covering that for like the past 6 months. Guys, I kept telling you, Ripple is on the acting body of the ISO 20022 engineering framework for the digital cross-border payment systems for the entire world. They're working right alongside BIS and SWIFT, so they're not trying to replace those two like a lot of people think they are. You're going to need third-party facilitators of these transactions that are still in place, right? Because they need centralized authority and control over the world's money. That's never going to change. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Ripple is going to replace SWIFT and BIS. They're just working alongside them and helping them through this revamp of the entire financial system through the ISO 20022 framework. So what's interesting about this, though, is the Federal Reserve just adopted that back on October 5th. So if that tells you anything there about the global payment structure for the new financial system, um, the Federal Reserve is completely on board with that, and you're going to start seeing probably, I'd say in the next 2 weeks to a month, this SEC case with Ripple should start winding down, and they should come to a decision on that. That's extremely bullish for Bitcoin as well because, actually the entire crypto market, altcoins included, because if they settle that case and they can put it behind them in the rearview mirror, it's just a catalyst for prices to do exactly what I was showing you there with Theta and where we're expecting Bitcoin to go. I know a lot of the guys that I follow and people that are teaching me how to read these charts, but doing it far, far longer than I have a lot more money in their pockets than I do doing it. So they know basically they know their shit. And I can tell you, they've got prices, on Bitcoin anywhere between like $250,000 to $300,000 by the end of December. So is it unrealistic? No, absolutely not. But we'll just have to wait and see where we go with that because nobody can really predict exactly where these blow off tops are going to go. We're just basing it on Fibonacci levels or target levels based on previous wealth cycles. So anyways, guys, that's all I have for news today on the crypto market. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well if you like this bullish news. And if, hey, you guys like making money and ripping off the face of these wealth cycles and cryptos, stay tuned because I'll have another video out here next week. And if there's any FUD that occurs, where they're talking about black swan events or any of the stuff that I was covering in my last video, as opposed to, like the debt ceiling and stuff like that, just brush it off. Have no fear as usual, guys. And with that said, I will catch you later.